take care of her. She's still fairly independent, but she needed a little bit of help around the house and such. So my aunt had been living with my grandma to help take care of her. And my grandma's getting, she's getting older. She's getting just a little bit less able to be living independent. And then this past winter, my aunt got sick. So she was not able to take care of my grandma anymore. So my aunt moved in with her daughter. And my grandma went into a nursing home. Right about the time everything started shutting down. So, of course, nobody's living in the house now. The house needs to be cleaned out, and so the house needs to be sold. So, over the past couple of months, we were talking, okay, when things calm down a little bit, we can go out there and clean out the house. Well, things haven't calmed down, but the house still needs cleaned out. So, my mom and I have been talking about, well, we can go out and help clean through everything and sort through things and figure out what should be kept, what people might want, what can just get donated and gone to the dump. So, we planned, okay, we're doing this. It's like, well, we're pretty nervous about flying. Like, you can't really control your environment in an airplane. So, okay, well, I guess let's drive then. Well, we live on the East Coast, and my grandma's house is in California. So it's like, well, I guess we're driving across the country. So, well, if you're driving across the country, you might as well make the most of it. My mom has been to almost all of the states. She is missing Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And that's it. So, okay, that's fine. My daughter had just had her first son, so that's my first grandson, in Iowa. So we thought, okay, we'll stop in Iowa, we'll go to Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. We'll see all kinds of things, the Badlands, Mount Rushmore. Let's just stop and see whatever we can.
Wow, this trip is going to be one of a lifetime. That's for sure. We couldn't have planned everything that's going on in the world today. But this is a trip that I've wanted to take for a long time, doing the cross country, so I can pick up some states that are really hard to get. With our family living so distant in all corners of the United States, and it's hard to see all the family and make that connection with your own people. It's just really important to keep in touch.
We plan to visit my little sister Megan and her family in North Carolina. We plan to visit my sister Harmony and her husband Steve, wherever we can find them. They team drive semi-truck across the country, so we may see them once, we may see them more than once. We just don't know. So they're always somewhere different, so hopefully we'll run into them a couple of times. We plan to visit my daughter, Rain. She just had a new baby. This is my first grandchild, my grandbaby, Luca. So we're going to visit them and her husband, Colin. We plan to visit my Aunt Terry and my cousin Tina and her husband, Patrick, and her daughter, Trudy. So we plan to visit them, and we plan to visit my nephew Orion, who is moving from North Carolina to California. So we plan to visit him in both places, so that'll be interesting. Let's see, and of course we plan to visit my grandma. There will be different precautions we'll need to take for that, but we should be able to sit outside with her and have a nice visit. We may also visit my another aunt of mine, my Aunt Tony, and her husband Dave. So I'm not sure if we'll visit some other people along the way. There might be some other family that might hop in there. I also might get a chance to visit my friend Stacy. I'm not sure where she's going to be, because she's also moving from Louisiana to Texas. So sometime in the time we're going across the south, She might be going one way or the other, or be in one place or another, and we might be able to catch her, but I'm just gonna have to keep touching base with her to figure out where she's at. So each time we visit people, we're going to be wearing our masks and keeping a distance as much as we can, holding our breath while hugging.
Part of the reason for wanting to do this trip is to have some experience that will enhance my writing. I write screenplays, and I have a couple stories that do travel in the United States and other places. So the more experiences I get of actually seeing and feeling and breathing the air and seeing the people that we meet on the way will help my stories. I also look forward to spending time with my daughter, Crescentia.
I've been to almost all of the continental US. I still need to get Alaska and Hawaii, but I'm only missing the 5 southeast states. So if we're gonna get those north ones on the way there, let's go the south route on the way back. Through this process then, we'll get to see both coasts. We'll get to see the top of the Mississippi and the bottom of the Mississippi, and a lot of interesting places along the way.
Mount Rushmore is one of the locations in one of my scripts, so I want to see it and feel it. I want to see it at sunrise because that's when my character gets there. Go to Old Faithful, where another scene happens for my story, and go just, who knows what you're going to find.
But of course, throw this in, we've got the virus going on. We've got this pandemic that has affected everything and everyone. So it makes the whole trip that much more interesting, and we really felt like this needs to be documented. Like, this will be an interesting thing to look back on. People will be able to relate to this who have been through it, but also people in the future, hopefully, who haven't had to go through this, will be able to kind of look back at this point in time and see what it was like to go through it, to live through this right now. So it's going to be a really interesting trip. I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the world, in the documentary, and it should be a really good time capsule of times. And speaking of time capsules, at my grandma's house, there's a time capsule buried. It's not time to dig it up, but it needs to be dug up because we need to sell the house. So that's another thing that needs to be done, is I need to dig up that time capsule. But we won't be opening it for the documentary. So you'll just have to keep up with us later if you want to see what's in it. But I might share a few pictures.
There's always concerns about traveling and accidents. Something happens to the car. I have a new car, so it should be good. So it's got good tires and it's in good shape. But you always have to look out for the other drivers, even though you trust your driver, you trust yourself, you trust who's with you, anticipating the other people and circumstances, because along with this virus, there's a lot of unrest in the country. And I don't want to get caught downtown anywhere in the middle of a riot or something going on. So we really have to pay attention to our surroundings.
So my concerns for this trip, of course, we need to be conscientious and do our best to minimize any risk of spreading the virus. We need to minimize our own risk of catching it and our own risk of spreading it. So things like wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, washing our hands, spending as little time in shared indoor spaces as possible, just doing what we need to do, but not spending time in crowds, just keeping away from others as much as we can. Some other concerns are, well, when we get back from the trip, of course, we will have gone through so many states. We will definitely need to be quarantining when we get home. So we both have plans in place to we have our cushion when we get home. We've got 2 weeks to just relax and not have to do anything, and we just quarantine and chill out. We've talked about what to do if one of us does get sick or both of us get sick, but we still need to really work on kind of solidifying the whole plan there. But it's like, it depends on where we get sick and at what point in the trip, and there's so many variables there that it's hard to have a solid plan. Another thing I'm concerned about is the possibility of states closing borders. There's, it's been talked about in the past about restricting travel from other states, but nobody's done it yet. So I don't know if that's something that any of these state governments are even considering at this point. So it's possible that we could come to a state and not be able to go in. Or come to a state and they tell us you can stay on the highway, but you can't stop at any gas stations or hotels or restaurants or anything. You've got to just drive straight through and that's it. Other possibilities for concerns are not being able to find a hotel that is open, not being able to find a gas station, or not being able to find a bathroom. So we're both Girl Scouts, and we have taken our be prepared motto. We have a tent in the car that we hopefully will not have to use. We have a mattress in the car that we may or may not have to use. Just a thin camping mattress. Since we're driving in an SUV, there's lots of room, so one of us can lay on the mattress if we need to. And we have a bucket and a shovel and lots of garbage bags, so if we can't find a bathroom, we're prepared, along with toilet paper.
Well, there's so many expectations. It just goes on and on, And just seeing people and how they react to the virus and character studies,